It's great to have you back. It is Wes, and you are on Lost and Found Muscle Cars. And while you're here, click subscribe because you could be the one to help find the next missing muscle car. But today, we've got an incredible car, a 1971 Pontiac Trans Am. But guys and girls, this is not no ordinary Trans Am. This car's famous. This car was on the cover of CarCraft magazine. It was on the cover of multiple magazines back in the late 70s. Check out the colors on this Trans Am. It was so popular, it was selected to be on a TV show called California Fever, which launched the career of the handsome and dapper Lorenzo Lamas, right? So we have the young 20-year-old lady at that time who owned this beautiful car. Sally, welcome to Lost and Found Muscle Cars. How are you?
I am great. Thank you for having me.
Awesome to have you. Sally just last week submitted a car on my Lost Muscle Cars page on Facebook, and it garnered a ton of traction. It's a 71 Pontiac Trans Am, but this is just not some regular pedestrian 71 Trans Am, and I'm going to let Sally tell you all about it right here.
It's a car I bought. I was about 22 years old. I bought it in 1978 from Street Rods Auto Body. They just had painted the car, and Wes, thanks to you, I did see two ads that were trying to sell the car. Someone was trying to sell the car before I purchased it. So I bought it. The motor was pretty well shot. It ran, but it smoked like crazy cruising down the boulevard. So I dropped that thing into a bay. I rented out a bay. I worked for a company called British Car Company. So I had a lot of connections with parts. I was very mechanically inclined because I had been watching my brothers work on their cars when they were younger. So that's how I learned. It was all self-learning. So I rented that bay out, had a couple guys to help me with the heavy work. I pretty much built that motor myself. So as I was out running parts, I was dropping the heads off at places. The block it's still in good shape. So we just honed it out, just bought new pistons. Got it running and up, ready to go, and it ran like a champ.
So let's back up a little bit here, right? So Sally mentioned right off the top that there were a couple classified ads that I was able to locate and send to her in. What we did is we took Sally's license plate number, her SoCal license plate back then. In California, your plate stayed with your car through ownership. You didn't go to the DMV and get a new plate if the car stayed in California. So that car had previously been listed in the California Los Angeles Times for sale in 1977 and in 1975. So we had two previous times that this car had been listed. And at that point in time, Sally, it was full on custom, just like you had it when you got it in 1978, correct?
No. I think what happened was that whoever was trying to sell it before took it to Street Rods and sold it to them, because Street Rods had their painter design that paint job and they did the custom paint. Yeah. So I was the first owner of that custom paint, but I had a 69 Z28 that I bought from them. We were cruising and I saw that car and that thing just spotted my eye.
Where did you see this car?
At Street Rods.
And what is Street Rods? Is that
it's a car dealer up there on Whittier Boulevard.
Okay. So
yeah, they have people that paint their cars. So
okay.
they have their painter, they do the body work. Because I know at one of the ads it said it needed body work. So Street Rods pretty much did everything to it. At the same time they painted that car, they painted a boat to match. But
really?
I didn't have enough money to buy that boat to tow behind that car. So basically I was the first owner on that car.
So this is prior to it being on the television show then?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So
yeah.
to get everyone... Sorry, go ahead.
Because I bought it in 78 and the TV show didn't come out till 1980. CarCraft came out in March and August of 79 and it popped out again in June of 2020.
So this custom paint car, right? You can take a look at it. It's heavily customized and it looks incredible. It's got that perfect day two look. That TV show, Sally, came out in 1979. In September, it dropped its first episode. So it was a 10 series episode or 10 series show. It was never renewed. And basically it ran from the tail end of 79 into 1980, like you had mentioned. So
Yeah, it wasn't
um,
very long.
it wasn't. And, I guess out of all that came Lorenzo Lamas.
Yeah, yeah, Renegade.
He sat in your car at one point in time.
Yeah.
So you see this car, and what was it about the car that made you want to have it? You're a 20-year-old girl. You probably have a million things going in your head as to what you want for a cool car. Why does this 71 Trans Am jump out to you?
Just because of the different color of candy pearls that it had on it, the design that this car had was so amazing. It's not that I wanted the attention from the car, but I did get the attention from the car. I just wanted that car. I always was a car person. So, I was always trying to always get bigger and better. I started working at 15, so I was always saving money. I was a good saver. And by the time I was, I want to say 18, 19, I had that Z28. And then at 2021, I got that Trans Am 21, 22.
You're grabbing this thing straight in the disco era, right? I mean, it's all bright lights everywhere.
Yeah.
And you got this flashy car. What kind of attention were you getting when you were out and about driving around with this
On
thing?
the boulevard?
Yeah.
Oh, people's eyes, heads turning. A lot of guys come up, hey, she's driving her boyfriend's car and this and that. And I was like, okay, whatever. Or they think it's my dad's car. It was just, there was a lot of negative people out there, but then there was a lot of positive people too. So, it's just like, I don't worry what people say. I'm my own person. I'm very independent. I'm a strong-willed woman. So, if they want to talk crap, let them talk crap. I don't care.
What was the scene like back then? Was it a racing scene? Was it a hanging out in the parking lots and chewing the fat scene? What was going on?
Totally a racing scene up there. But after I got that car rebuilt, that car would turn 1376 in the quarter mile. Because I used to take it out to Sand Canyon, Orange County racetrack out there and race quarter mile. And I would get lined up and these guys would look over and they'd say, all show, no go. I get down to the end. I look back and I'm saying, what'd you say? So for a street capped up on the street, 1376 back then in those days was fast because my Z28 turned 1248. But that was a 4-speed with 411s. This car had 373s in the rear end.
And traction's a big deal, right? I mean,
yes,
a 13-second car is actually going to be a really fast car because it's probably going to hook.
Right.
Whereas a 10, 11-second car, it's going to spin. So you're going to have a lot back there to make sure you get that traction. So you have this car. How long did you have it?
I had it for probably, I want to say 4 to 5 years. And then the paint started checking. And I was like, this thing's going to be a nightmare to paint. Had I known now had I known then what I know now, I would have never got rid of that car. A lot of them that I had, because you don't know back then what the value of these cars are going to hold. My parents bought a place in Big Bear. So I wanted something that I could get up and down the hill. So I traded it in for a Toyota 4x4. Can you believe that?
The old manual transmission and 455 just weren't going to cut it climbing the hills into Big Bear,
yeah. And taking that Trans Am up to the mountains with that cam, because that cam had a big 284/65 cam in it, and it loped pretty good. Taking it up to the mountains, by the time I got up there, it was so I had to turn my idle up going up there, and then coming back down the hill, I had to readjust it. But thank God I was able to do my own work, set my own timing, change my own points, everything on that car. There wasn't anything that I couldn't do except the transmission.
Did you own the car while it was on the TV show?
Yes.
You did.
Yes.
So talk me through that process.
So basically how it started out first is we were cruising Van Nuys Friday and Saturday nights, me and Debbie Rose. She's the one that was in the magazine with me. So we started cruising Van Nuys on Wednesday nights. We heard that was the hot spot. So we were up at Van Nuys one night in this white and orange striped Camaro. And I know he's on one of the covers, but I can't remember which one. But if I saw the car, I'd be able to point it out. He comes up next to me and he says, the guy from CarCraft wants to see your car. And I says, well, where's he at? I go, does he want to do the cover on the cover? Because I said, if he does it on the cover, I'm in for it. So we pulled over into a parking lot and it was Neil Britt sadly, I just found out the other day he passed away last year in July,
Mhm.
and that it just kind of broke my heart. But anyways, um, he looked at my car and he says, "I want to do an article on your car on the cover." And I says, "In color?" Because the car was all about color. And he says,
Fascinating.
"Yeah, on the color and in the centerfold." So March, that was probably in December. He had us come up to Van Nuys Boulevard on an off night, me and Debbie. So that picture on the cover was taken on Van Nuys Boulevard, middle of December, freezing. So it was kind of blurry a little bit. But Debbie was sitting shotgun. The girl that was sitting in the passenger seat, that was one of the photographer's friend's girlfriend. And then Frank was standing behind me, a friend of ours, on the outside. After the magazine came out, we were cruising up there again and we got pulled over again. They said, "There's a producer from CBS that wants to see your car. They want to do a movie." And I'm like, "What?"
Mm.
So we pulled over into this big parking lot. As soon as I got in that parking lot, cameras were all on me. They were like inside the back of the car, seeing if the cameras would fit in there, this and that. And that was Mel Swope. He was the producer. So a couple days later, or maybe a week later, they called me up and they said, "We want to use your car for this TV series, but we're going to need it for 2 weeks." I said, "That's fine with me." So they came and picked up my car for 2 weeks,
Hmm.
and they used it for 2 weeks and paid me $2,000. That was a lot of money back then.
That was a lot of money back then. I mean, that's
Yeah.
some good ching for 2 weeks of loaning out a car. Now, did anything change from the time? Did they have to mount holes anywhere? Was there anything that changed
No.
on the car?
What they did, and a lot of people wouldn't recognize this unless they knew the car really well, they made a dummy car. Because, in one of the scenes, they wrecked it. That wasn't my car. And all the
Right.
scenes that they had people laying on top of the hood and on top of it and all that, that wasn't my car. Because I told them I don't want nobody sitting on top of my car. But they were very respectful of it. It came back in the same condition they took it with. But it's funny because when I had my car parked on the street after I got it back, or maybe it was before I got it back, there was a UPS truck or a FedEx truck that pulled in the alley and caught the front of my fender. So I was like, "Oh my God, how am I going to get this paint matched?" But
Mm.
Vinny at Color Me Custom out in Anaheim, I don't know if you're familiar with Color Me Custom. He's pretty
Uh,
big.
okay.
He had a painter there, Mike, which was fantastic. He was able to match the paint to the T.
What was it like once that show hit and the car was featured, and then you had the car out in the public?
Oh my God, just seeing my car on the commercials on Channel 2 doing that burnout on there, it was just like amazing. But back then, all they had was those beta VHS things. So I never got anything recorded, but I can Google stuff and find it on there now. But yeah, Cruz and Whittier and Van Nuys after that, there was a lot of people that recognized the car, a lot of fingers pointing, "Here she comes," this and that. So yeah, it really hit it big. I didn't realize, how many people were actually, liking that car. But when Neil wrote that article in the center, before he had even did the article, I had Trans Mam put on the back. Nowadays, they probably think something weird about that. But back then, it wasn't like a big thing. So in the article, he had put Sally's most infuriated with those male chauvinists who insist she's driving her boyfriend's car.
That's
With
it.
that being on the back, obviously they knew it was my car by then.
Trans Am. I love it. I love it. You sell this car about 4 years after you said you bought it. So we're talking the early 1980s. What were the circumstances in which you sold the car?
Because the paint was checking and it was just getting nasty. And I figured, you know what? I need that 4x4 to get up to the mountains. So I traded it in at Lakewood Chevrolet out there in Lakewood. I think it was called Lakewood Chevrolet or Paramount Chevrolet out in Lakewood. I traded it in there. That was the last I seen of the car.
Legit, you never saw the car again after that?
Never saw it after that. So I'm sure what they did is they probably stripped that down, had it painted, and resold it. Because the whole hood, because I didn't have a garage to park it in. I lived at my parents' house at the time. And all the, it was all lacquer. So you could see the paint, just the cracking in the lacquer finish of it. So all the way down the center.
So tell us exactly what you had for a drivetrain in the car. What color was the interior? We know about the candy paint, but give us some of those hard details that were on the car when you had it.
When after I rebuilt everything, or when I
Yes.
okay,
Yes.
so after I rebuilt it, I put in a 280 465 cam, which was a nice big loaf. I had an Edelbrock manifold. I originally put a 780 Holly on it, but that didn't run very good. I have this friend up in Whittier, and he had a 70 Firebird, and was real big into quadrajets. So we switched mine back to the original quadrajet. He knew how to jet it. That thing ran the best with the quadrajet on there. I had a 373 rear end, which that came stock with that. The transmission was fine, but it wasn't like, like second, third chirps. So my friend had a friend that worked at A1 Transmission out there off a Telegraph, I think it's like Norwalk area. So we pulled the transmission from his house from my car out at his house. We sent it out, got it built, put it back in. So taking off, I would get these nice little second, third gear chirps
Yeah.
with it.
Of course, it's all tightened up.
Yeah. And then let's see, what else did I do? Oh, I did have to have custom headers made. The 455 HO has round port heads. Nobody makes a header. I don't know about nowadays, but nobody made a header back there to fit those round port heads. So I found a guy that did the headers that would make them. It was like, I remember it was like $250, which was actually pretty reasonable back then. But my car was so low that every time it hit a bump,
oh yeah,
I would get exhaust leaks through the headers. So I had to take that red silicone, constantly putting the silicone on there. The bolts at the bottom, because the car was so low, I think I wore those bolts out and I had to get the new flanges put on there. But I had put dual exhaust on it, dropping at the rear end instead of having it come out the back. Let me see, what else did I do to it?
What color was the interior?
The interior was white, but I later on changed it to black. Okay. I just used that spray stuff that they put on there, which was kind of nasty, but it was white interior.
Do you recall ever seeing the original paint anywhere on the car?
No, but I'm guessing it was probably maybe from a door jam or something. It was either blue and white or it was white and blue, because those 2 years, the HO and the SD, were coming out with those two color schemes. So it'd be all blue with the white stripe, or it'd be all white with the blue stripe. I think it was the SDs were the white with the blue stripes, but the SDs were the 4-speeds and the HOs were the automatics. That's what I've learned from that.
So to go home here, it's about 1982. The car is traded in at a dealership, and that's the last that anyone has been able to confirm that car existed in that configuration, correct?
Yeah.
So Sally, what would it mean to you if we were able to help you find your old Trans Am?
Just out of curiosity, who owns it? Where's it at? If it's still around, letting those people know that they got a needle in a haystack right there. I mean, it's gold, but not that I could afford to buy it back right now, unless they want to give me a good price on it, then I would take it. But other than that, it just would be nice to be able to track it back down.
Now, people out there, please rack your brains about this car. Comment below. Let us know if you remember a 71 Trans Am that fits this description. It may have been restored. So people out there, 1982, Southern California, 1971 Trans Am, 455, 373s. Anybody could be owning this car right now. Check out your history and don't forget to follow this page. I'm Wes. See you down the road.
Thank you, Wes.